Greetings, all. Welcome back to the Corona Garden Show. I had heard about this Corona spread, and I just happened to have some empty Corona bottles in the recycling bin here that a friend of mine had drained while at the house. They brought them by here. It's not my favorite brew, but whatever. Anyway, I'd heard it was spreading, and I was thinking maybe if I went ahead and planted some of these bottles, that if they started to spread on me, then I could share free beer with all the neighbors. Well, I mentioned it to Ellen, though, that it looks like the beans were coming up and the tomato plant looks fine in there, but there's nothing happening with the beer bottles. They just catch rain and sit there. And well, she informed me that it's not a Corona beer spread, it's a Corona virus spread. And so well, I guess I screwed up here. Well, anyway, it makes for a good image. Well, it looks like the oyster mushroom spawn that I put down in a lump here and then protected from the birds. I've just rolled the cardboard back so I can look. It's running really well. In fact, you can see that it's even running onto the cardboard real nice right here. And so this has kept the birds from being able to go after the bird seed that I used in the spawn. Looks like same thing's happening in this spot. I can see it coming right through the Hilo Tribune here. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that though. We got a sluggo. We don't want him. He'll eat this stuff. Oh, get out of here. Man, talk about birds eating mushroom spawn. Boy, I tell you, the introduction of non-native birds into the state of Hawaii is just an absolute tragedy. There's nothing we can do about it now, really. It's too late. They were brought. But I think it's the cardinals. Last night, early this morning, the cardinals came through, and they don't eat lettuce or cabbage seedlings. But in an effort to see if there might be a seed underneath each one of them, they went through my flats, and they were tearing everything out and threw it all over the tables. Yeah, they might be pretty, but I hate them. Since I figured out that the beer wasn't going to spread and it was a disease, I figured maybe this is a good time to take the Corona Garden Show and talk about some spread of some diseases. I know, I'm sure you've heard enough of this, but I generally consider myself to be fairly well educated on subjects of food growing and horticulture, but I don't know everything either. And, of course, I haven't purchased a leafy green probably for decades. I don't know. Well, maybe every once in a while I have picked up a little bit of organic lettuce here in the farmer's market when I'm in between. But in general, we don't buy greens or most vegetables. We grow them. And so I grow them in a way that I believe is, safe and okay for us to eat. We already have our problems here with rat lungworm on leafy greens, but greens grown in the mainland, they apparently, have had this problem about contamination from Listeria and from E. coli in your salads. Now, a lot of this looked like it was, the pre-wash stuff, and it was the wash water that was causing these problems, especially, I believe, with Listeria. But with E. coli, it looked pretty clear that it was contaminated irrigation water, probably running off of animal feedlots, either for raising, beef steers, fattening them up, or from dairy loafing yards where animals were confined and you had all this manure. That the drainage of the manure was getting into the irrigation water in the lettuce growing fields and was causing contamination. Well, this seemed logical to me, and like most of us, I believe, I assumed that the problem was that the stuff was getting on the leaves and it wasn't getting cleaned off. Well, Ellen got this in the mail the other day. That's the latest Consumer Reports, and it has a safety guide to leafy greens right there. And it's right here, how to your safety on your leafy greens. Anyway, she was reading the article that's in here, and she passed along a piece of information to me that was so different, really, from anything that I had previously understood about this, that I had to go look for other sources, even though Consumer Reports is relatively good source of information usually. You can usually trust what they got to say pretty well. But I had to question. There's this little picture thing here where they're talking about how the contamination happens. Well, down in the lower left corner, it says, toxic E. coli is found in the feces of farm animals such as cattle and sheep. Bacteria from the waste of animals housed in nearby feedlots can contaminate the water used to irrigate the field, or it can be carried by the wind and deposited onto the soil or the greens. Now, this is what I knew. Okay, and so that was no news. I said, yeah, okay, big deal. But now next to it, it says, the bacteria can be taken up by the plant's roots as the greens grow. This means the bacteria can get into the plant's leaves on lettuce. Now, that to me was such a statement without really any reference sources there that I had to go out on the web and I had to search. And so I went to my laptop and I found American Society of Microbiology, Applied and Environmental Microbiology. The article's name is Transmission of E. coli from Contaminated Manure and Irrigation Water to Lettuce Plant Tissue and its Subsequent Internalization. Wow. It states in here that experiments demonstrate that E. coli can enter the lettuce plant through the root system and migrate throughout the edible portion of the plant. Wow. Okay. This is not a brand new study. It was done in 2002, and so it appears the scientific community who study microbiology have been aware of this. I had not been myself. And there have been times when I have actually taken, say, fresh chicken manure, watered it down in buckets, created what was called manure tea, and applied that around vegetables. Now, I have never done that when it comes to leafy greens. All right, I'm very cautious about what goes on around leafy greens. Any manure that would go there have been thoroughly composted and would have been well aged, and the plants put in over it. Would never have applied raw manure around a leafy green like that. But I have advocated applying liquid forms of raw manure near things like corn, tomatoes, peppers. These are things that are aerial, off the ground. Risk of contamination is not very great. Plus, they're fairly easy to wash. Now, there is no indication that fruits like a tomato or a cucumber could have E. coli migrate to them through the root system. This is a little different. There's a placental membrane there. But definitely when it comes to anything where you're eating the leaf, this is a concern. And, well, it's new news to me. As I know a lot of you do use manure. There's a lot of belief in gardening communities that manure is an appropriate fertilizer, and of course it's an old-time tradition. We've been using it for a long time. I have said many times in the past that it's not required, and I generally try to utilize as little of it as possible. Due to fertilizer prices here on the island, I have started to use a pelletized chicken manure from Oregon. It's a dry product, and I do not apply it in a liquid and so on and so forth. So I have used a little bit more of it these days since the days when I raised lots of chickens. But I minimalize it. Generally, I use plants and other things as sources of fertilizer, coffee grounds, fish waste, etc., etc. There's a lot of options, seaweed. Anywho, so to add insult on top of injury and infection, since we have coronavirus spreading across the world, also consider the next head of romaine lettuce you're buying. I mean, I don't know how fast anybody's really going to fix these problems. Farms are stacked side by side. They do different things and so on. They, as far as I know, this study had done in 2002, really nothing has been done about this because contamination issues continue. The best solution, head for the garden with a lettuce seed. That's the best solution we have, folks. There's a lot of great reasons why you might want to grow a vegetable garden. And these days, if they're not going to let you go out to the gym or wherever you can't go, if you can get into your own backyard or out on the balcony or wherever, you can go out and start to plant some stuff. Don't let the cardinals pull your seeds up on you, though. Whoa. So, while we're on the subject of things spreading, I recently acquired some lion's mane spawn for lion's mane mushroom. The lion's mane mushroom is known to be able to help regenerate the coatings on our nerve bundles as a health item. It's myelin is the name of the nerve sheath, and it helps to regrow damage to the myelin. And here's some lion's mane spawn in a jar. The jar contains about 2/3 vermiculite and about 1/3 brown rice flour with water added. And you can see it's actually making little lion's mane mushrooms on the top of the jar. The initial inoculation was made by spores that were grown on a agar in a petri dish. Here we have several pounds of spawn in this bag, and this is on wood sawdust mixed with brown rice flour is the medium that's in here. And as you can see, it's growing out like crazy. We got white mold all over the place. It's running over here down this side of the bag and so on, and starting to cross the bottom over there. This was only done last week, so she's moving right along. It's been in my living room at standard house temperatures. Here's another sample, for instance. You can see big white. I can't open the bag so you can get a good look. Sorry, because it's sterile in here. The medium is concocted, placed inside the bag. The bag is rolled up and closed. They're placed in a pressure canner. We cook them for 2 to 2.5 hours at 15 pounds in a pressure canner. Then they're taken out, and after they cool down, I open the bag after cleaning my hands with alcohol because you can't get any hand sanitizers anymore. And then very carefully drop the spawn inside the bag and close it. And I was able to manage to do that without creating contamination. We have a really good run. This mushroom is known to taste like shellfish. People tell me that it tastes like shrimp or it tastes like lobster. That's real good for people who got gout, since eating shellfish isn't good for you, and plus this will help your nerve bundles. So, a delicious, easy to grow, and healthy mushroom. Something, if you're trapped in your apartment, like I said, I've been growing these in the front room, and so this is a great indoor gardening food project. I never really thought of this as being indoor gardening projects, but yeah, growing mushrooms in bags in your own house is entirely feasible. You can do it yourself if you're interested. It's different than seed gardening. Believe me, it's really different. I'm still green at this. I'm learning, but I'm learning quick, and it's moving right along. We have all sorts of successful mushroom projects going here at the Green Garden Guy's house. I guess it was, I didn't know it, but it was going to be a great year just to sit around and watch the fungus spread instead of the virus. You all just be safe, take care. Follow the guidelines. It's going to be over. Don't bucket. What's the point? You just endanger yourself and everybody else, so far, things here still not bad, although they're tightening up, but they're tightening up with the aloha. Most of it's voluntary. Although all the state parks and everything are closed, the governor has asked you all, don't come. And I double down on what he has to say. There's no point in it. You're not going to enjoy yourself here right now. The hula festival's canceled. I don't believe they've closed the volcano yet, the national park. That still, I believe, remains open. It was the other day. But everything associated to the state itself has been shut down. And your commercial amusements also all shut down. You can't even use the beach parks, all right? They're closed. And so what's the point? Stay home. Find something to do. Don't bring it here, because for the most part, we're still pretty good. I don't know what'll show if they ever do mass testing, We have some testing now. Oahu's got the bulk of the cases. There's 14 of them, as reported this morning here. All but one can be traced to travel. There's just one case on Maui. They don't know how it happened. So they're still wondering about that one. So there might be some community spread on Maui. Big Island showed one case right now. We have one, and it could be traced to travel. So far, it doesn't look like it's circulating around. And it's a good thing that my beer didn't spread, the corona didn't spread, because if it had, maybe I'd be, transmitting problems by gathering everybody around to get drunk in the front yard, even if they were 6 feet apart. Aloha, be well. Thanks for watching.